Welcome everyone to another episode of Round the Block Talk. Today we have with us Mr. Bruce. He is an NFT artist and has been doing a number of things in the space of NFT. So very happy to have you here with us today, Bruce. And I'll hand it over to you.
Happy to be here. Thanks. I've been in NFTs for close to 3 years now. I would say full time, but it's really kind of like all day, every day, 8 days a week kind of deal. Because it really like encompasses work and like my hobbies, and my social life is pretty much in NFTs now. So like there's not really a whole lot else to do. Yeah,
That's great to know. So Bruce, now that you're an artist and you involve yourself in NFT, so how has that changed your profession, and what does it mean for creators and artists today? The power of NFT.
I think it's like really a whole new landscape for any kind of creators, really. Like honestly, I never really thought of myself as much of an artist before I got into NFTs. My initial introduction was through like the gaming use case. And like long story short, like I stumbled onto an article by Engine about NFTs, and I was familiar with them as like a longtime gamer. They've done a lot of things in the gaming community, and I was like, well, what does Engine need crypto for? And like, why wouldn't they just use Bitcoin like everybody else? And like, this was during I was researching Bitcoin as a possible payment option online for something I was doing, and then like they're talking about being able to actually own items in video games and sell them to other people, and like take them to other games or new accounts, and so that changes everything. And so I started doing research, and I ended up on a platform called Cent, which is still fairly active, I believe. At the time, it was mostly artists that were working in the blockchain space, and like everybody was incredibly welcoming and encouraging, and like we didn't have the wag me then, but like we're all gonna make it kind of vibes, and it was totally different than any online community I've ever experienced. And like I just dove right in, and then like started making art, because like after discovering art as a use case for NFTs, it kind of changes everything for art too, because there's so much more possibilities with digital art than there is with physical mediums. And I think it's going to continue to expand into so many different fields.
Right. So how has digital art changed after NFTs? So you've spoken about the ownership of your own artwork, and so in terms of generating revenue out of it, monetizing it, how has the landscape changed for an artist and a creator with the advent of
yeah, so I have to make assumptions to some extent, because like I said, I never really thought of myself as much of an artist. But from like people from what I've talked to people, and like just general research and like observing like digital art specifically, chances are your best bet as a digital artist to like monetize that skill set is like working for a video game studio or an animation company or like a TV show or something along those lines. And there's a pretty good chance you're going to be getting paid a lot less than what your art or your work is really actually worth it from like an artistic standpoint. Whereas with NFTs, like you can provably and publicly authenticate that your art is original, that you have a one-of-one digital art piece, and like there's code enforced royalties, like which I remember fighting for early on. Like we had to. Seems crazy now to think that we actually had to fight for it, but we did. But like it's just there's so many potential potential opportunities for any kind of creator, but specifically for art, like it opens a whole new range of possibilities for digital artists, even like analog artists. Like you could easily create a high-res digital version of a painting, for example. And if someone buys the painting, you can be like, oh, you could also have this NFT if you want it, or vice versa, sell the NFT and then like ship the actual painting to somebody. but the ability to prove and like create scarcity for digital items is it's earth shattering, really.
Right, indeed. So what platforms do you use today for listing your NFTs, for trading your NFTs?
I'm on a bunch of them. I think everybody primarily uses OpenSea at this point, but for like art specifically, I'm on Known Origin and Maker's Place and Async, and a handful of other like less prominent curated platforms that I've forgotten a few at this point, and there's a few other ones that are like kind of more niche. Mint Gold Dust is an interesting one. I was supposed to do onboarding for that and then like forgot about it until thinking about it just now. But the way they have it set up is really cool. They do like interviews with the different artists and stuff like that and feature that on the homepage. There's platforms popping up all over the place at this point, and like on, I don't know, 40 different blockchains now, I guess. Like everybody wants to be in NFTs.
Right. So what are the benefits? What are the comparison between these platforms? How do they differ from each other? What are the benefits of them? What are the pros and cons?
Yeah, so platforms like OpenSea, LooksRare, Rarible, etc., are pretty much open access. Like not all of them enable a creation of NFTs, but they all like index the blockchain, and you can sell any NFTs you have on that blockchain on that platform. So like with a specific example, like OpenSea, there's millions of NFTs for sale. So like for independent artists, they're doing one-on-one pieces, especially if they like don't have an established name yet, then like it's very unlikely, if not impossible, for them to get found on platforms like OpenSea, where like it's buried amidst millions of profile pictures and every other use case for NFTs ever, as compared to like Known Origin or Maker's Place, for example, which are curated. There's an application process, and like your ability to publish your work on that platform is based on the merit of your artwork. And like it's focused primarily, I know Maker's Place enables a few different collections, like you can sell Bored Apes on Maker's Place now, I guess, and a couple other like quote unquote blue chips. But for the most part, it's digital art, like it's not like a 10K generative collection.
Right. So how has the market for NFTs been recently? There's been some ups and downs. What are your comments on that?
Quite honestly, I think NFTs are probably holding up better than most of the crypto market. I guess in US dollar terms, they're down as well, because even if like they have the same floor price in ETH, like the ETH price is down. But like it seems like the prices on NFTs have been holding up better. Like if you're thinking of it in ETH terms, where like one ETH is one ETH, regardless of the dollar value, like the price drop has been less on NFTs, I think, than it has across most other assets.
Right, indeed. So, so how long have you been involved with NFTs, and what are the possibilities do you think with NFTs that are coming up in the future?
I got involved around the end of 2019, and like it kind of just clicked, and I just dove in head first. And like ever since then, like at the time I was working like a few hours a week at a crappy job, and like, I sold my first piece in I think February of 2020, and I was like, all right, I'm leaving. I walked out of that job, went home, started making more art. But I've been lucky enough to be able to stay in the space full time and like not have to do other things. But I think like there's a lot of unrealized projects, I think, as well, and like utilities and use cases that already exist that people just aren't aware of, because there's just so much focus on like the profile picture craze and like the eye-popping numbers that some NFTs get on auctions and stuff like that. But there's pretty much an endless amount of potential uses for it. Like it really can be used to contain or verify like any kind of digital content you could think of. So like that could be like deeds of ownership for a house, a car, land, etc. Like that could be preserved on the blockchain as an NFT, and like it can't be destroyed, altered, or damaged or lost. I guess it could be lost if you lose your seed phrase, but like you'd still be able to look and see who owns it. Like medical records could be used in NFTs. Like that'd be an interesting use case. Voting potentially, especially when you get into the idea of soul-bound NFTs. Like in America, like we have voter recounts on every presidential election because people want to make sure it's right and like there's no voter fraud. Like we always have X amount of people that they estimate there's a few thousand or tens of thousands or whatever the actual number is of people voting that aren't actually that person or like have passed on or something, and like their families using their social security number or something like that. And like, but like supply chain, inventory, I could probably go on all day about different things you could use NFTs for, but like pretty much everything's going digital anyway. So I'm considering like pretty much any digital content can be represented as an NFT. That's pretty much open-ended.
Right, right. So any advice for creators or artists out there, how they can get into this space and how they can benefit from it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way to start getting into it is really just start doing the research. Like at this point, there's a ton of good resources out there for like education on it, like tutorials and stuff like that. And there's any number of layer 2 solutions for Ethereum where like you don't have to spend whatever $20-30 to mint a piece on Ethereum mainnet. You can start something on Binance Smart Chain or Polygon and be paying pennies to experiment or like to mint and like get a feel for it before you really dive in. And then like another piece of advice that I think is probably the best advice I've gotten my whole time in this space is create something today, even if it sucks.
Right, indeed. So how many artworks do you have listed on this platform, and how does that work?
It'd be hard to say exactly how many I have, and I have probably 3 or 4 on both Known Origin and Maker's Place right now, a couple on Async Art. Aside from like for actual artworks, I'd say probably 100 or 200 across a couple accounts on like the aggregated marketplaces. And like I don't know how many collectibles I have listed, but that's not my original work. So
are you also a collector of NFTs? Do you invest in
yes,
NFTs?
yeah, I don't know if I'd call it investing. It's mostly degenerate gambling, but yeah, I have probably accumulated, if I included all the blockchains, I'd have to estimate around 4,000 or 5,000 NFTs in the past couple of years.
You have a collection of 400 NFTs, is it?
No, about 4,000 or 5,000, I would estimate.
5,000. You own 5,000 NFTs?
Roughly, yeah, that'd be my guess. Like it's an approximate. I know I have like about 3,000 on ETH and Polygon in my primary account, and then I have my original account from 2020 that got hacked. There's probably still 600 or 700 in that one, and then Wax and Hive and whatever other blockchains, Tezos, etc. Probably adds up to around 5,000 total.
Oh, that's great to know. So, what are the reasons that you invested heavily in NFTs? Is that a collection for you? Is that an investment for you? How do you see this?
Yeah, it's kind of both. Like, I don't really like to think of it as an investment because A, I've never really had an investing mindset, and B, because a lot of it isn't worth anything anymore. It's just projects that didn't go anywhere. But then at the same time, like a large portion of it is likely to be more valuable in the future at some point. But like, that's really rarely my focus. A lot of my collection is one of one or small edition artwork from independent artists like myself, and like that's the stuff I really value. And I don't see that as an investment. That's just collecting, like because I enjoy doing it. I love the potential for digital art to like be so many other things. Like there's just so many possibilities with art. Like as one interesting example. I cannot remember who exactly did. I believe it was Spaced Painter and somebody else that did it, but they minted a piece where like it's displayed as a video, but then owning that NFT like is a token gate to allow access to like an immersive 3D environment they've created that's depicted in that NFT. And things like that are just like blow my mind. Makes you want like think about the potential for like doing that with other things. Like for example, you can create anything you want on Minecraft, and theoretically you could set it up as like a private server where like it's token gated so that only the person who owns that NFT can actually access that virtual world, and that virtual world is like what's displayed on the as a video or image or whatever.
Right. So what is your personal favorite NFT project out there?
So like for projects, I'd have to say probably I have to go with Unlock Protocol. So it's not really a collectibles project per se, but like I want to say they started in early 2020, maybe late 2019, where you can create like NFT gated membership or like lock certain portions of your content behind owning an NFT or something like that. And then you can like make limited editions of these quote unquote membership NFTs. You can customize them with your own art, things like that. And they have like a whole SDK made available for everybody to use it. Like they're really ahead of their time with that. Like it's really innovative and robust or diverse uses, I guess.
Sure, Bruce. So with that, thank you very much for being on the show. It was great to interact with you and learn about NFTs.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.